Standard Bank is Africa's biggest bank by assets, and it has a presence across the continent. In recent years, it's been divesting from its international operations as it refocuses on Africa. I'm joined by Tshabalala, the group's joint chief executive officer, to talk about the region's prospects. Sim, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew.
Let me start with your domestic market, South Africa. We've just come from the budget, and the finance minister downgraded growth from 2.5% to 2% for this year, after 1.5% of growth in 2014. And there are these constraints on the economy with the electricity issues, etc. How concerned are you about South Africa's growth prospects?
Very concerned, Andrew, but at once concerned and excited about the prospects. Excited because to the extent that the authorities and the parastatals execute on the plans that are in place for the purposes of fixing the electricity situation and fixing the logistics infrastructure of the country. To the extent that those are executed, I think the prospects for growth are huge and exciting. In addition to that, we have the gas finds, the fracking in the Karoo, as well as the potential for gas on the coast. These could add easily 1% to 2% to the country's GDP.
Now, as we've said, Standard Bank is refocusing on Africa, and if we talk about Africa excluding South Africa, it's being talked up as one of the world's great growth prospects. How much of that growth we've seen now has been commodity driven, and will there be a waning of that growth? Will there be a slowdown, do you think?
Well, let's take Nigeria, the largest economy on the African continent. It has felt the challenges arising from the decline in the oil price. The naira has devalued to 200 to the dollar. Interest rates have had to be increased, and the Nigerian authorities have had to impose fiscal rectitude as a consequence. However, the economy has diversified in Nigeria. Large parts of the economy are now unrelated to the oil sector. And even in the oil sector, there is upstream and there's downstream. And the impact of the commodity prices is different in each of those sectors. And so the authorities throughout the continent are alive to the fact that they need to diversify. And as I say, Nigeria is just one such example. Looking at it continent-wide, oil exporters are having challenges, whereas oil importers are going to benefit. My favorite example is in our own business is to compare West Africa to East Africa. As we go through the challenges you and I are talking about, East Africa is benefiting, by way of example.
Okay, just go back to Nigeria. I think you've just been to Nigeria, and it's obviously the most populous nation on the continent, the biggest oil producer. Now we've got the Boko Haram insurgency in northern parts of the country. We've got elections coming up, which have already been delayed, but coming up later this month. Mm-hmm. What's your outlook for Nigeria, and how concerned are you about the stability of the country? It's a key market for you, obviously.
Andrew, our purpose as an organization is that Africa is our home and we drive our growth. We have no alternative but to make our home work. And that's the background to how we think about Nigeria. We see through the volatility, and we still believe that Nigeria will go back to growth of above 6% in the medium to long term. We think that after the elections, the authorities will address themselves to the fiscal issues. They will impose fiscal rectitude, and I do think that the situation in the long run in Nigeria will normalize.
Okay. Now, as part of this refocusing back on the home continent, you've recently finalized the sale of your London-based commodities trading business to ICBC, the Chinese bank, for $690 million. Now, you've talked about redeploying that back into Africa. How will you redeploy that, and what are your plans in utilizing that money, that windfall, if you like?
Simply, the money will come back to South Africa, and we will use a portion of that money to shore up the balance sheet in South Africa. Secondly, we will use the balance of that money to support growth in our existing network. We have got a well-tooled system. We've got products, but we need throughput through our system, and we will be focusing then on those operations to drive sales, to drive service. To the extent that acquisition opportunities may present themselves, we will consider them as and when they arise. At the moment, we are very focused on the existing network.
Just to wind up then, given the uncertain times and the commodity cycle where it's at, where do you see the bright spots on the continent?
We remain very confident in Nigeria. We remain very confident in Ghana. Having completed the transaction with the IMF. We think prospects in Ghana are fantastic. We remain very confident about the East Africa region, thinking of it as a region, not just a balkanized environment. And of course, Angola continues to be a promising country.
Okay, great. Sim, thank you very much for your time. Really good.
Many thanks.